Look at this beautiful old Woody. Cracker Boys Boatyard, Fort Pierce, Florida, Atlantic side. And I'm saying Woody because you can see the skin on the outside of the wood is starting to crack at some of the board seams. And I don't know what that material is. I do not see any fiberglass strands. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I see some strands there now. So looking at all of this, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous boat. You can see that we've got blue bottom paint on top of red bottom paint on top of orange primer. So that shows how much the bottom paint has worn off on the anti-fouling part of the underwater hull. You can see this white material here. I don't know what that is, but in the old days we used to use white lead, which was like a putty. And here you can see the problems with wooden boats, the worms. The worms have gotten into this keel, and the sad part is they're in the keel right here, but see this part? That's the boat. And then this is called a worm shoe. So it's a sacrificial piece, much like a zinc is. So a zinc is sacrificial for metal, and a worm shoe is sacrificial for the wood. You can see here, this is probably a copper sheet that's put on top of that, and then the wood is allowed to be eaten up by the worms. So it will eat up that whole plank all the way to the back of the boat, and not eat the hull itself, except in this area right here. So looking at some other things here, it's a planing hull. You can see it's got a semi-V up in the bow, and as it travels to the stern it starts to flatten out, give it a planing area. This is a lifting strake here, or a spray rail some people might call it. Worms have eaten into that. That's easily replaced. Takes a shipwright, not a house carpenter, but a shipwright to do that work. You can see the worms eating in there. And as we walk back, you can see some other terrific features where we've got a skeg that follows the entire length of the keel, and that skeg is about the same depth as the propeller blades are. So here in Florida, if you were to ground that boat on a sandbar, chances are you may not hurt the propellers or the rudders. The shafts themselves are kind of long, so you can see an intermediate strut here, and then the primary V strut, V-shaped back there, to hold the propeller shaft. And coming back to the stern, you can see a little bit better the three-blade propellers, the skeg, port and starboard engines, and again more worm rot right here. And you can see where the copper sheathing was tacked on top, but they got underneath the copper sheathing and they had eaten into the wood. So this is a labor of love. This isn't even copper sheeting, some kind of a plastic material. I guess that's more modern than copper. This is a labor of love, but it's a gorgeous boat. It's got beautiful lines, and I think it'll make a terrific cruising boat for South Florida and the Bahamas, only 54 miles away. If you want to learn more about boats, wooden boats, fiberglass boats, metal boats, mono hulls, or catamarans like we have over here to my screen left, look us up on the internet. Ask Captain Chris.